We're taken back to Jin-Yong's past, revealing the origins of his unique perspective.
In elementary school, a young Jin-Yong faced constant heartbreak.
Rejected 20 times by girls, including one who bluntly declared, "I don't like you," Jin-Yong lost all his confidence.
Deeply hurt, he created an imaginary friend named Jason. Jason's advice was simple: try thinking of all girls as stones. Jin-Yong began tirelessly repeating this mantra.
After years of mental training, Jin-Yong's perception truly shifted.
Girls started appearing as literal stones to him, leading us back to his present-day reality. Back at school, a girl asks Jin-Yong to study, but his internal voice warns him, "Don't get your hopes up."
Following this protective instinct, Jin-Yong politely declines, saying he's a bit busy today.
He reflects that seeing women as stones makes interactions much easier, as you can talk to a stone without any feelings getting in the way.
Yet, Jason voices a new concern to Jin-Yong, wondering if this perception means he'll never be able to date anyone.
Still discussing his dating dilemma with Jason, Jin-Yong firmly states he's given up, finding it more comfortable to avoid potential rejection.
He doesn't think about dating anymore, a feeling Jason cautiously affirms.
We discover it's been nearly 5 years since Jin-Yong started perceiving girls as stones. Walking outside, Jin-Yong's phone dropped on the ground.
She calling out, "Hey!"
She approaches him, holding up the device and explaining, "Looks like you dropped it."
This unexpected moment forces a direct interaction.
Jin-Yong finds himself in an awkward situation, face to face with the girl. To his utter shock, his usual perception fails him. She doesn't appear as a stone at all.
Internally, Jin-Yong completely panics, questioning, why doesn't she look like a stone? As she impatiently asks, "Why aren't you answering?" Jin-Yong is overwhelmed. In a moment of pure fluster, he accidentally blurts out his thought, "You really pretty." The girl is left blushing and surprised, while Jin-Yong is mortified by his own words.
Still stunned, Jin-Yong watches as the girl processes his unexpected compliment. He thanks her. She asked what was that, before Ji-Young walk away, leaving Jin-Yong mortified. His internal voice, Jason, immediately explodes, berating him, "You idiot. You just said she's pretty? To a girl you just met?" Overwhelmed with panic, Jin-Yong runs off. Later, Jin-Yong discusses the serious problem with Jason in person, fearing rumors. Jason surprisingly thought it was pretty sweet, but then warns Jin-Yong about the potential for weird rumors spreading.
Jin-Yong is left bewildered, wondering, why is she the only one who doesn't look like a stone? Jin-Yong is completely overwhelmed, plagued by flashbacks of past rejections and fearing a repeat of his painful history.
Jason, his imaginary friend, tries to snap him out of his panic, urging him to think of a plan instead of letting his head explode.
Jin-Yong, still reeling, wonders if he can simply avoid the girl who broke his perception.
Jason confirms that since she's likely in a different class, avoiding her could be a viable strategy. Jin-Yong agrees, finding comfort in the idea that if he doesn't run into her, he won't get flustered again. Jin-Yong arrives at school, and despite his hopes for avoidance, immediately spots the girl he's been trying to forget outside classroom 2-6.
She greets him with a pointed, "Oh, what? Running into you again," leaving Jin-Yong utterly flustered.
As she asks, "You know me, right?" his internal alarm bells ring. Jin-Yong frantically asks Jason for help, who advises him to stay calm.
"Just talk naturally." But the girl quickly tells her friend, "He's the one who called me pretty yesterday."
Jin-Yong attempts to treat her like a stone girl, but her friend screams, "Oh my god," NOA, as her presence continues to defy his coping mechanism.
As the girl's friend expresses her shock, Jin-Yong's internal voice, Jason, remains curious. But the girl, now revealed as 𝗬𝗢𝗟𝗬, quickly turns her attention to Jin-Yong, teasingly asking, "Am I pretty today too?"
Jin-Yong, completely overwhelmed, can only stare blankly as her friend laughs at 𝗬𝗢𝗟𝗬's boldness.
Unable to handle the direct confrontation, Jin-Yong bolts, running away in a blur.
Jason, his imaginary mentor, approves, calling it a smart move and advising Jin-Yong not to let it get to him. Still flustered, Jin-Yong internally berates himself, vowing, "Anyway, I am never running into her again."
Meanwhile, 𝗬𝗢𝗟𝗬 is left confused, wondering, what is going on, seriously? But Jin-Yong's hopes for avoidance are quickly dashed.
he keeps spotting 𝗬𝗢𝗨, who calls out 𝗬𝗢𝗨'𝗥𝗘 to him. He notes how much she stands out way too much from the stone people. Jin-Yong, determined to escape further awkwardness, decides he has no choice but to dodge her every time we cross paths, quickly walking away as she tries to greet him. Jin-Yong breathes a sigh of relief after a day of successful dodging, thinking he needs to devise a new plan. But his peace is shattered when 𝗬𝗢𝗨 suddenly appears behind him, startling him with a HEY. She confronts him directly, asking, "Did I scare you?" and then questions his constant avoidance. She points out how he runs away and ignores her, wondering if she did something wrong. Flustered, Jin-Yong tries to explain his behavior, but he quickly realizes he's only creating another misunderstanding.
Still reeling from 𝗬𝗢𝗨's confrontation, Jin-Yong struggles for an answer. Internally, he admits, "Every other girl looks like a stone to me. But not you." He tries to explain his confusion to Jason, but 𝗬𝗢𝗨 cuts him off, clearly impatient. As Jin-Yong's hands visibly tremble from panic, she calmly asks, "What's your name?" Overwhelmed, Jin-Yong stammers, 𝗢𝗢𝗥𝗘 Jin-Yong. Before she takes him by surprise, reaching out to gently touch him, escalating their tense encounter. 𝗬𝗢𝗨 gets dangerously close to Jin-Yong, informing him with a teasing smirk, "What you just said? That was flirting." This bold statement sends Jin-Yong into a complete tailspin. His long-held mental defenses, Jason's advice to treat women like stones and don't get your hopes up, utterly fail him. With his heart pounding, Jin-Yong is plunged into an overwhelming fantasy, imagining an entire future with 𝗬𝗢𝗨, from marriage and children to growing old together. This vivid, unexpected vision leaves him utterly bewildered. Jin-Yong is an emotional wreck, as Jason observes, realizing it's the first time in 5 years he's truly seen a girl's face. With his avoid her at all costs plan failing, Jin-Yong desperately asks Jason for guidance. Jason reminds him to focus on his ultimate goal, explaining how Jin-Yong conditioned himself to treat women like rocks to feel nothing and avoid pain. Now, with 𝗬𝗢𝗨 appearing as a person, all the intense side effects of his long-held coping mechanism are hitting him at once, leaving him utterly overwhelmed. Jason, ever the pragmatist, explains to Jin-Yong that his lack of immunity to a real girl's face was the perfect trigger for his current turmoil. Jin-Yong agrees, fearing his past will repeat, prompting Jason to reveal a solution. Jin-Yong simply needs to maintain your composure in front of her. Back at school, Jin-Yong appears incredibly stressed. Meanwhile, 𝗬𝗢𝗨 walks confidently down the hall as her friend points out, "Oh my god, hey. Jin-Yong is staring at you, questioning, isn't he glaring, no?" It seems Jin-Yong's composure is already being put to the test. Jin-Yong asks Jason about their new strategy, which Jason calls Operation Desensitization. The plan is for Jin-Yong to stare at 𝗬𝗢𝗨 until he gets used to seeing her as a person, not a rock. Jason instructs him to fix his intense expression and try smiling. Jin-Yong attempts a truly unsettling, forced grin. From across the hall, 𝗬𝗢𝗨 and her friend notice Jin-Yong staring, with her friend exclaiming, "Holy crap, Jin-Yong just smiled at you." Jin-Yong wonders if he needs to maintain his facial expressions from such a distance, but Jason insists he fix it because it's making even him uncomfortable. Jason quickly pulls Jin-Yong away, telling him, "Let's head back. If you keep staring, people will get the wrong idea." Jin-Yong agrees, as 𝗬𝗢𝗨 blushes and turns away. Her friend, 𝗬𝗢𝗨, then reveals Jin-Yong is surprisingly popular with girls, despite his complete disinterest. 𝗬𝗢𝗨 explains that his aloofness ironically makes him even more appealing, like a cool, aloof type. This revelation clearly piques 𝗬𝗢𝗨's interest, especially after Jin-Yong's recent intense stare. 𝗬𝗢𝗨 then teases her, asking if she's now interested, making 𝗬𝗢𝗨 blush and deny it. As Jin-Yong continues his struggle, we see 𝗬𝗢𝗨 reflecting on their interactions. She admits, "There's something about him that caught my attention," hinting at her growing intrigue. Meanwhile, Jin-Yong is back in the classroom, voicing serious doubts to Jason about their desensitization plan. He realizes that constantly staring at her just makes him look like a total creep and a complete weirdo. Jin-Yong fears this strategy will only make 𝗬𝗢𝗨 think he's strange, pushing them further apart. This presents a new challenge for our protagonist. Still struggling with his approach, Jin-Yong and Jason discuss a new strategy. Jin-Yong suggests finding 𝗬𝗢𝗨's social media, thinking he could find her Insta or something.
Jason, however, pushes for a more direct route, telling Jin-Yong to hurry up and go ask her directly.
Despite his visible nervousness, Jin-Yong approaches Jung Se-woo and stammers, "See, could I get your Insta handle?" To his utter surprise and delight, she smiles and calmly replies, "Sure, why not?" This unexpected success marks a turning point for Jin-Yong. After Jin-Yong's bold move, Jung Se-woo casually takes his phone, offering to type in her Instagram handle for him. As she accesses his social media, Jung Se-woo quickly discovers Jin-Yong's profile is completely blank, with 0 posts or followers, even a simple Park Jin-Yong hello in the notes. She confronts him, asking if he literally just make this account.
Jin-Yong nervously admits he did, explaining he rarely uses social media. This revelation sends Jung Se-woo into a fit of laughter, leaving a bewildered Jin-Yong to wonder why she's reacting this way, and what this means for his new connection. Jung Se-woo continues to playfully tease Jin-Yong about his brand new, empty social media account. She laughs, asking if she's the very first person he ran to right after making it. Jin-Yong internally admits she's right, completely flustered by her amusement and continued laughter.
As Jung Se-woo walks away, Jin-Yong panics, realizing he was too blinded by the goal. He desperately turns to Jason, who grimly declares, "We're fucked."
Jin-Yong tries to stammer an explanation, but his inner loser is clearly showing as Jung Se-woo just keeps laughing at his awkwardness.
Jin-Yong is still reeling from Jung Se-woo's laughter about his empty social media. With a mischievous grin, she suddenly asks, "Aren't you curious about my number, too?"
Jin-Yong becomes utterly flustered, barely able to stammer a reply. Jung Se-woo then bursts out laughing, revealing she was just kidding. She playfully pokes Jin-Yong's chest, telling him she followed myself and hands back his phone.
She finds his bewildered reactions hilarious, leaving Jin-Yong completely speechless by her teasing charm. After their awkward exchange, Jung Se-woo leaves Jin-Yong with a playful instruction. She tells him to make sure to like a lot of my posts as she walks away.
Left alone, Jin-Yong's mind immediately races, playing out an entire internal movie of their future together, from marriage and pregnancy to raising a rebellious child.
Jason quickly appears, snapping him out of his intense daydream.
Jason sternly advises Jin-Yong to stop playing that movie in your head. Later that night, as the school day ends, we find Jung Se-woo relaxing at home, engrossed in her phone.
Jung Se-woo, relaxing at home, scrolls through Jin-Yong's newly created Instagram.
She bursts out laughing at his profile, especially a selfie, exclaiming, "His photo skills are absolute trash."
Later that night, Jin-Yong is fast asleep when his phone lights up. He receives a notification, "Jung Se-woo liked your photo." Meanwhile, the news of Jin-Yong's bold move has spread. Jung Se-woo's friend, Seo-jeon, expresses her disbelief and amusement to another friend, wondering, "He actually asked for your Insta?" It seems Jin-Yong's unexpected social media foray is making waves.
Seo-jeon continues to react to Jin-Yong's new, empty Instagram, telling Jung Se-woo, "He's definitely into you." Jung Se-woo, intrigued, then asks Seo-jeon if it's true Jin-Yong usually has zero interest in girls.
Seo-jeon eagerly confirms, stating Jung Se-woo is the only one he's like that with. Seo-jeon then offers to prove Jin-Yong's unique interest right away. As Jin-Yong walks past in the hallway, Seo-jeon dramatically cries out, "Oh no, help! I've fallen and I can't get up."
Jin-Yong immediately turns, looking utterly perplexed by her sudden performance.
Seo-jeon's dramatic attempt to prove Jin-Yong's unique interest by faking a fall takes an unexpected turn.
As she dramatically cries, "I'm in pain," Jin-Yong simply stares, completely unresponsive.
But before he can react, another student casually walks by and unceremoniously yanks Seo-jeon up by her hoodie, startling her with an ACK.
Jung Se-woo bursts into laughter, teasing Seo-jeon that he yanked you up like he was pulling a damn radish.
This hilarious blunder leaves Seo-jeon utterly mortified, while Jung Se-woo can't stop giggling. Still mortified from her failed prank, Seo-jeon concedes to Jung Se-woo, "Well, I guess you were right after all." Jung Se-woo, clearly amused, silently calls Jin-Yong that total bastard.
Later, Jin-Yong confides in Jason about his progress, admitting he still hasn't gotten used to seeing Jung Se-woo. He struggles, saying, "It feels like a brand new experience every time I see her, even while looking at her Instagram." Jason, realizing their strategy isn't working, suggests they need to find the root cause of why she's the only one who doesn't appear as a rock to Jin-Yong.
As Jin-Yong walks, Jason shares new theories about 𝗀𝗢𝗨. Suddenly, Jin-Yong spots her ahead, looking concerned and musing, "This is bad." Jin-Yong wonders what she's doing there. She quickly notices him, calling out, "Oh, it's Jin-Yong? Hey!"
Jin-Yong instantly panics, clutching his chest and groaning in dread. 𝗀𝗢𝗨 then explains she needs to take the bus home but has no change.
A flustered Jin-Yong asks about her home, but she turns the question back on him, asking, "What are you doing standing here?" This unexpected encounter continues to put Jin-Yong on edge.
As Jin-Yong questions why 𝗀𝗢𝗨 needs the bus despite her home being literally right around the corner, she reveals a surprising detail: she has chronic anemia, making walking difficult. Concerned, Jin-Yong offers her his bus money, but she declines, playfully telling him, "I'd feel like a bully shaking you down for cash." Instead, she takes him by surprise, grabbing his arm and boldly stating, "Just walk me home instead, Jin-Yong."
Completely flustered, Jin-Yong is left bewildered as 𝗀𝗢𝗨 confidently starts walking, expecting him to follow her lead. 𝗀𝗢𝗨 is now confidently leading Jin-Yong home, chatting away about 𝗀𝗢𝗨.
But Jin-Yong is completely flustered, barely able to process her words. He internally admits, "I can't hear a single word she's saying," as she continues to talk. When 𝗀𝗢𝗨 playfully asks, "Are you even listening?" Jin-Yong is overwhelmed by their sudden closeness, thinking, "I never imagined we'd end up walking together like this." His intense discomfort triggers a vivid flashback to a similar walk with another girl from his past.
Jin-Yong's flashback continues, revealing a painful past encounter as he walks with 𝗀𝗢𝗨. We see a young Jin-Yong walking with Kim Min-ji, and he admits to developing feelings for her. However, other students quickly question their apparent closeness, asking, "Are you guys dating or something?" Kim Min-ji reacts with a horrified "No way," and bluntly declares, "Who would ever date a guy like him?" This crushing rejection meant she never walked with him again, ending things before he could even confess. Back in the present, Jin-Yong is overwhelmed by the awkwardness of his walk with 𝗀𝗢𝗨, wishing it was over.
As Jin-Yong walks 𝗀𝗢𝗨 home, she suddenly collapses on the ground, huffing and puffing.
Concerned, Jin-Yong rushes over, asking, "What's wrong? Did you trip on something?"
𝗀𝗢𝗨 explains the uphill climb is tough due to her chronic anemia. She then asks Jin-Yong to give me a hand, which he readily offers. As she takes his hand and rises, still feeling dizzy, she asks him to walk a bit slower.
Jin-Yong is left utterly stunned, realizing they're now holding hands as they continue their journey.
As Jin-Yong walks 𝗀𝗢𝗨 home, hand in hand, his mind races, fearing his delusions are kicking in again. 𝗀𝗢𝗨 recounts how her friend 𝗀𝗢𝗨 was yanked up like a damn radish during a prank.
Jin-Yong, completely flustered, barely comprehends, asking, "Who even is 𝗀𝗢𝗨?"
They finally reach her house, and 𝗀𝗢𝗨 thanks him, saying, "CYA."
Jin-Yong, utterly dazed, thinks it's finally over.
Walking away, he reflects, "It was the most uncomfortable walk of my life, relieved it won't happen again tomorrow." Walking away, Jin-Yong reflects on his discomfort, internally hoping 𝗀𝗢𝗨 has bus fare tomorrow and gets her anemia treated, believing only then will my delusions finally stop. But his relief is short-lived.
𝗀𝗢𝗨 spots him again, exclaiming, "Oh." She quickly realizes, "Oh, shoot. I almost forgot," before calling out "Hey Jin-Yong." Jin-Yong is startled as she explains she won't get her allowance for a while. She then directly tells him, "I'm counting on you tomorrow too, okay?" completely dashing his hopes for avoidance. Jin-Yong, still reeling from 𝗀𝗢𝗨's expectation, is completely out of breath from running, lamenting he shouldn't have run. He feels intensely uncomfortable, wishing to avoid her and for this whole situation to be over. 𝗀𝗢𝗨, also winded, admits she's dizzy again. Suddenly, his imaginary friend Jason appears, looking concerned and asking Jin-Yong, "What the hell is up with that face?" Jin-Yong, caught off guard, then visibly startles, letting out an ACK, as something unexpected occurs. After their breathless run, Jin-Yong finds 𝗀𝗢𝗨 on the ground, gasping for air. He immediately rushes to her side, calling out "CONWO," and anxiously asking, "Are you okay?" Jin-Yong then realizes his own part in her distress, internally lamenting, "This damn running. And why did you run?" He quickly urges her to just sit down for a second.
Jin-Yong's concern is evident as he tries to help her recover from her anemia-induced dizziness, highlighting the ongoing challenges of their forced walks home. Jin-Yong continues his conversation with a shirtless Jason, who explains the reason why she is the only one who doesn't look like a rock to you. Jason then elaborates, presenting a theory that it's because Jong Seonwoo suddenly appeared out of nowhere into Jin-Yong's life.
Jin-Yong questions if this could truly be the only explanation, but Jason insists nothing else comes to mind.
Deciding to table the discussion for later, Jin-Yong grabs his backpack and heads out for school, where an older man greets him. As Jin-Yong prepares for school, he has a brief, subdued exchange with his dad. He declines breakfast, saying he's not hungry, even when his dad mentions his mom made kimchi stew. His dad urges him to eat properly, and Jin-Yong agrees before heading out, looking visibly distressed.
Outside, Jin-Yong confides in Jason, asking if this means he's destined to be dragged around by Seonwoo forever. Jason's grim reply, "It can't be helped," leaves Jin-Yong to face the unsettling implications of his unique situation. Jin-Yong heads to school, still anxious, while his dad reassures him not to worry too much. He's clearly still grappling with Jason's theory, praying it's wrong. Suddenly, a girl appears, arms crossed, internally vowing, "I'm gonna kick your ass." She confronts Jin-Yong, declaring she practiced low kicks all night just so I could make you suffer. A completely bewildered Jin-Yong asks, "Who even are you?" She dramatically claims he humiliated her in the past. Jin-Yong then finds himself holding her up by her hoodie, mirroring an earlier incident, as she fiercely states, "I'll never forgive you." This unexpected grudge introduces a fresh challenge. The girl promises to let him off with just 3 low kicks, dismissing his protests by calling him a four-eyed prick. True to her word, she then kicks Jin-Yong, sending him flying as he screams. She's surprised to see him fleeing, shouting, "You're running," as she gives chase. The girl boasts about her speed, adding, "Unlike Seonwoo, I don't have anemia." Jin-Yong, terrified, sees her charging like a boulder before she closes in, yelling, "Gotcha, you little rat." The new girl finally corners a terrified Jin-Yong, shouting, "Gotcha, you little rat." The loud impact draws Jong Seonwoo's attention, who looks shocked, asking, "What the hell?" What was that loud noise? She delivers a powerful low kick, sending her reeling. The kick causes a severe injury, indicated by torn ankle ligaments. But it's Jong Seonwoo who collapses, prompting Jin-Yong to rush to her side, crying, "SSONWO. Are you okay?" As chaos erupts. The chaos from the fight leaves Jin-Yong with a fractured nasal bone, shouting ARGH, while Seonwoo also lies injured. Surprisingly, Seo-jeong stands over them, looking shocked and repeatedly apologizing, "I'm really sorry for the unexpected turn of events." Afterward, both Jin-Yong and Seonwoo find themselves in the infirmary. Jin-Yong, now sporting a bandaged nose, identifies the new girl as Seo-jeong, remarking that Seo-jeong has always been a bit weird. His imaginary friend, Jason, quickly appears to warn him, "Let's hope your inner loser doesn't leak out again," as Jin-Yong reflects on still being alone with Seonwoo in his thoughts. Still recovering in the infirmary, Jin-Yong finds himself alone with Jong Seonwoo, just as he'd been dreading. Internally, he desperately hopes not to say anything foolish. Jong Seonwoo breaks the silence, asking about lunch, to which Jin-Yong responds about fried croaker. She then asks if he eats breakfast, and Jin-Yong admits he usually skips it, reflecting on his awkwardness around his dad. Jong Seonwoo advises him to try to get along with your dad, before beginning to mention Seo-jeong, hinting at more to come. Still in the infirmary, Jin-Yong finds himself replaying his initial compliment to Jong Seonwoo, realizing he genuinely finds her insanely pretty. As he stares, Seonwoo playfully confronts him, asking, "Hey, what are you staring at? Am I that pretty?" Jin-Yong, completely flustered, loudly denies it, insisting he was just looking. Seonwoo then bursts into laughter, admitting she was just messing with you. Jin-Yong's heart races, leaving him bewildered by her bold teasing. Back in the infirmary, Jong Seonwoo continues to tease Jin-Yong, playfully telling him, "Teasing you is just too much fun, Jin-Yong." She notes how he gets so flustered over the smallest things, especially when he panics. Jin-Yong, visibly embarrassed, attempts to apologize, but Seonwoo just laughs, finding his reactions amusing. She secretly thinks, "You're cute."
Later, Jin-Yong is back home, looking stressed and pondering if Jason's theory about Jong Seonwoo suddenly appeared out of nowhere is truly the reason she's the only one who doesn't look like a rock to him. Back in the infirmary, Jason presents Jin-Yong with a new theory: he fell in love with Seonwoo at first sight.
Jason insists he can't think of any other explanation for Jin-Yong seeing her as a person.
Later, in the school, Seonwoo checks on Jin-Yong, asking if he has a tight grip on her. Jong Seonwoo, angrily confronting Soo-jeon.
She declares it's time to teach you a lesson, demanding Soo-jeon take responsibility for your actions, leaving Soo-jeon startled and wondering what's next. Jong Seonwoo's confrontation with Soo-jeon escalates, as she demands to know if Soo-jeon will let go of Jin-Yong.
A terrified Soo-jeon cries out, then shouts, "Here I go," before delivering a powerful middle kick.
The impact sends Soo-jeon reeling with an urgh.
Jin-Yong, caught in the unexpected chaos, is utterly bewildered, muttering as he tries to process the sudden attack.
He's left to grapple with the startling realization and the direct question, "You fell for me?"
Echoing the theory of love at first sight. Jin-Yong is trapped in a terrifying dream, where Jong Seonwoo appears to mock him, stating, "I was just a little nice to you and now you're running wild with fantasies." She then coldly calls him a pathetic loser. Jin-Yong snaps awake in a cold sweat, visibly shaken. His dad, sitting by his bed, immediately notices Jin-Yong's heavy breathing and asks if he had a bad dream. Jin-Yong, still reeling, confirms it's a recurring nightmare about Seonwoo looking down on him, prompting his dad to ask if his past trauma with women has resurfaced. Back in his room, Jin-Yong discusses his feelings with his dad, who notes that if Jin-Yong's love at first sight theory is true, it's unrequited love. Jin-Yong's dad observes his fear and offers a unique piece of advice: know your enemy and yourself, it will make you undefeated. Jin-Yong, initially confused, quickly understands this means he needs to learn more about Jong Seonwoo. He realizes he actually knows very little about her, leaving him with a new objective.
Jin-Yong, nervous but determined, approaches Jong Seonwoo's classroom, class 2 to 5, ready to put his new strategy into action. He voices his anxiety, saying, "UGH. I'm nervous," before stepping inside. Scanning the room, Jin-Yong quickly realizes she isn't there, wondering, did she go to the bathroom? His imaginary friend Jason disappears. Jin-Yong then finds himself in an awkward encounter with a large student, 𝗬𝗢𝗟, who curtly declares, "That's my seat." Jin-Yong quickly apologizes and moves, despite 𝗬𝗢𝗟's immediate hostile thoughts. Still, Jin-Yong presses on, asking the student, "Hui, have you seen Sun Wo?" Jin-Yong, still searching for Seonwoo in her classroom, asks student 𝗬𝗢𝗟 about her whereabouts.
𝗬𝗢𝗟 responds dismissively, making a strange comment about rookies who fall head over heels for a girl like her.
Jin-Yong, confused and angered, fiercely defends Seonwoo, warning him not to talk trash about her. Jason even appears with a gun, a visual representation of Jin-Yong's inner fury. 𝗬𝗢𝗟 then sneers that Jin-Yong has it bad too. Just as the tension escalates, Jin-Yong tells 𝗬𝗢𝗟 to stand up, hinting at a new confrontation. In Jong Seonwoo's classroom, the tension explodes as Jin-Yong launches a fierce attack on 𝗬𝗢𝗟, shouting, "Take this! My attack!" He's repeatedly pummeled with loud thwacks. Suddenly, Jong Seonwoo walks in, hearing the commotion and noting it sounds like someone's butchering a pig. She spots a disheveled Jin-Yong and a battered 𝗬𝗢𝗟, casually greeting Jin-Yong, who is startled. Jin-Yong then explains he was beating 𝗬𝗢𝗟 because he called her a trash girl. Unfazed, Seonwoo simply says, "You can keep going if you want," indicating this is typical behavior. Back in the classroom, Jong Seonwoo clarifies that 𝗬𝗢𝗟 has been like this since he was little, revealing they've known each other for a long time. Jin-Yong, completely surprised, can only stammer, "Since you were kids." 𝗬𝗢𝗟 confirms they are childhood friends. Afterward, sitting outside, 𝗬𝗢𝗟 apologizes for their earlier confrontation. Jin-Yong dismisses it, seizing the opportunity to learn more about Jong Seonwoo, asking about their shared history since they were about 3. However, 𝗬𝗢𝗟 quickly dampens Jin-Yong's hopes, warning him that Jong Seonwoo is insanely popular and advises him to just give up if he's interested. Jin-Yong is still with 𝗬𝗢𝗟, delving deeper into Jong Seonwoo's past.
𝗬𝗢𝗟 details her popularity, noting tons of guys chasing her with /0 success and over /2000 followers on Instagram Jin-Yong questions if it's just her type, but 𝗬𝗢𝗟 suggests a deeper reason for his warning. He then recounts their long history, stating he's known Sunwoo since we were kids and they always attended the same schools. This leads to a middle school flashback, revealing 𝗬𝗢𝗟's rude past, calling Jong Seonwoo /HUI, trash girl, and ordering her to. 𝗬𝗢𝗟 shares a strange memory with Jin-Yong, recalling a specific day when Jong Seonwoo seemed profoundly different. He explains that despite her usual smile, something felt off about her, a feeling he couldn't explain but that has lingered ever since. Jin-Yong, visibly puzzled, asks for clarification on what he means by off, only for 𝗬𝗢𝗟 to reiterate his advice for Jin-Yong to give up. Jin-Yong internally rejects this, having never experienced such a sensation from her.
But their conversation is abruptly interrupted as 𝗬𝗢𝗟's attention is suddenly drawn to something new, asking, "Oh, what's this?" Jin-Yong's conversation with 𝗬𝗢𝗟 is abruptly cut short as Jong Seonwoo and Soo-Jiyong approach. 𝗬𝗢𝗟 immediately calls out to Jong Seonwoo, who teases, "Are you two already close enough to hang out together?" Jin-Yong internally panics, desperately trying to formulate an excuse about their discussion. However, 𝗬𝗢𝗟 completely sabotages him by blurting out, "We were just talking crap about you behind your back, trash girl." Jin-Yong explodes in fury at 𝗬𝗢𝗟's disastrous honesty, screaming, "What the hell is your problem, you fat pig?" This shocking outburst leaves everyone stunned and Jin-Yong's carefully laid plans in disarray. Following Jin-Yong's furious outburst, Jong Seonwoo questions the commotion. 𝗬𝗢𝗟, still digging his own grave, internally confirms he was talking smack about you, you crazy woman. Jong Seonwoo, confused, directly asks, "You were talking behind my back? Really?" As Soo-Jiyong laughs, Jin-Yong, completely enraged by 𝗬𝗢𝗟's continued blunders, screams, "Shut your mouth, you pig!" Jin-Yong then furiously grabs 𝗬𝗢𝗟 by his tie, violently dragging him away in a chaotic display, leaving everyone stunned. Following Jin-Yong's furious outburst, he continues to drag 𝗬𝗢𝗟 away, as his imaginary friend Jason appears, menacingly holding a machine gun and approving of Jin-Yong's actions. Soo-Jiyong is left bewildered, asking Jong Seonwoo, "What even is this?" Soo-Jiyong, however, simply dismisses the chaos, telling Seonwoo to just ignore those idiots. Later, walking alone outside, Jin-Yong is completely stressed, lamenting that he learned nothing new about Jong Seonwoo and that 𝗬𝗢𝗟's blunders have only created more misunderstandings, fueling Jin-Yong's anger towards him. As Jin-Yong walks alone, Jong Seonwoo suddenly appears, startling him by asking, "Did you have fun talking about me behind my back?" Jin-Yong, completely flustered, tries to deny it, but she playfully cuts him off, laughing, I know. She reassures him that 𝗬𝗢𝗟 was probably just messing around, even giving Jin-Yong a playful poke. Then, with a casual request, she tells him, more importantly, "Walk me home, Jin-Yong." Jin-Yong, realizing she has no bus fare again, is left sighing at the prospect of another uphill walk. Jin-Yong is still reeling from the chaos with 𝗬𝗢𝗟 as Jason helps him process the situation. Jason observes it's complicated because while Jin-Yong wasn't insulting Jong Seonwoo, he was talking about her behind her back. Jin-Yong, internalizing this, decides it's probably best to hide this fact. Soon, he's walking Jong Seonwoo home again, who laments, "I really hate uphill roads." Jin-Yong asks if the walk is really that hard, and she confirms, detailing how her anemia causes weakness and fatigue, especially on hills. Continuing their uphill walk, Jong Seonwoo explains her severe anemia causes her to get short of breath even when standing still. To help, she makes a surprising request, "Jin-Yong, push me from behind." A flustered Jin-Yong hesitantly agrees, gently placing his hands on her back as they continue up the hill. Seonwoo immediately feels the difference, noting, "It's definitely easier to climb." However, she playfully adds that Jin-Yong's touch kind of tickles, revealing her back is a bit sensitive to touch. Jin-Yong is left utterly bewildered by her teasing. As Jin-Yong pushes Jong Seonwoo up the hill, her playful comment about being ticklish makes him incredibly awkward. He starts to wonder, what if they become even closer, spiraling into a vivid fantasy? He imagines carrying her on his back, with Jason approving, and Jin-Yong justifies his delusion circuit because, well, imagining things is free.
But his daydream shatters when Jong Seonwoo yelps, "I said push slowly. I feel like I'm gonna die because I'm so out of breath," snapping him back to reality with a startled, "WHOA, WHOA. Jin-Yong, still pushing Jong Seonwoo up the hill, momentarily spaces out before they reach a stunning viewpoint. Jin-Yong is captivated by the city spread out before them, musing that the view is actually really pretty and feels great because it's so open. He's surprised to discover such a spot near Jong Seonwoo's house and asks if she's seen it before. Jong Seonwoo explains her anemia prevents her from visiting such heights. Despite her exhaustion, she decides to let it slide today, appreciating Jin-Yong introducing her to the scenic place. Jin-Yong, looking at her, simply thinks, "It's pretty." Jin-Yong reflects on 𝗢𝗢𝗟𝗬's observation about Jong Seonwoo, connecting the something off feeling to his unique perception. He then spots Jong Seonwoo, who directly confronts him, "You were talking behind my back? Really?" A flustered Jin-Yong admits discussing her with 𝗢𝗢𝗟, but clarifies, "I just wanted to know more about you." He earnestly insists, "I wasn't bad-mouthing you. I swear," hoping she understands his intentions. Back on the uphill walk, Jin-Yong reassures Jong Seonwoo he wasn't bad-mouthing her, just trying to learn more. She accepts his explanation, playfully calling him out for talking behind her back and then telling him to walk her home again. As they reach her house, Seonwoo thanks him. Jin-Yong, relieved the walk is over, reflects on the uphill struggle. Later, Jason questions if Jong Seonwoo's reaction was ambiguous, suggesting it's sometimes better to just keep quiet. Jin-Yong reassures Jong Seonwoo he wasn't bad-mouthing her, just curious. She accepts his explanation, playfully calling him out for talking behind her back before asking him to walk her home again. Reaching her house, Seonwoo thanks him, leaving Jin-Yong relieved. Later, Jason questions if Seonwoo's reaction was ambiguous, suggesting silence is sometimes better, as Jin-Yong continues to grapple with his feelings. At school, a confrontation erupts over stolen bread. Later, 𝗢𝗢𝗟 playfully threatens Jong Seonwoo with a bizarre kimchi stew threat, but her friend notes they're best friends. Meanwhile, Jin-Yong heads out to play soccer, encouraged by Jason to become even more of a man. As Jin-Yong ties his loose shoelace, he's unaware of an approaching, intense gaze. As Jin-Yong prepares for soccer, a stern woman, 𝗬𝗢𝗟𝗬, confronts him for squatting in the middle of the way. She scolds him, asking, "Who told you to suddenly squat down in the middle of the way?" Jin-Yong, startled, responds, "The hell?" 𝗬𝗢𝗟𝗬 then warns him, "I almost tripped and died, you know. You got a death wish?" When Jin-Yong calls her Mr. 𝗢𝗢𝗟𝗬, she tells him to keep your head down and that he looks ugly from below. 𝗬𝗢𝗟𝗬 confronts Jin-Yong for squatting, warning him that girls hate being looked at from below and that it's embarrassing. She emphasizes that if he'd said that to her, he'd be dead. Later, Jin-Yong is back in his room, reflecting on his fear of rejection and how it led him to see every girl as a stone. Jin-Yong decides to focus on self-improvement, hitting the gym and then the soccer field. He scores a fantastic goal, earning praise from his classmates who are impressed with his skills. Meanwhile, outside, Jong Seonwoo and Seo-jeong notice the boys playing soccer, with Seonwoo remarking that Park Jin-Young is among them. Jin-Young is playing soccer, and his skills are turning heads. Jong Seonwoo and her friend Seo-jeong notice him, with Seo-jeong pointing out how cool he looks playing sports, despite his usual disinterest in girls. Seonwoo, however, seems more intrigued by his cool and sexy vibe, while other girls are labeled cringe fangirls. Jin-Young's unexpected popularity is definitely peaked. After their soccer match, Jin-Young's teammates praise his skills, especially his winning goal. Jong Seonwoo and Seo-jeong observe from afar, with Seonwoo noting Jin-Young's unexpected coolness on the field. Jin-Young, drenched in sweat, heads to the outdoor sink to rinse off, oblivious to the attention he's drawing. After soccer, 𝗢𝗢𝗟𝗬 laments the dark side of being a goalie, feeling blamed for every loss. Jin-Young dismisses his complaints, but 𝗢𝗢𝗟 reveals he dislikes Jin-Young because he couldn't block his shot. Suddenly, Jason with an axe appears, Seo-jeong shouting to hold it in. Outside, Jin-Young finds himself in a bizarre confrontation with a 𝗢𝗢𝗟 who throws water at him, shouting, "I have a present." Jin-Young, shocked and cold, retaliates. Jin-Young, calling a damn pig, chases him, criticizing his glasses. Meanwhile, Jong Seonwoo and Seo-jeong hear the commotion and decide to investigate the strange shouting.
Jin-Yong, still drenched from the earlier incident, expresses his discomfort. Meanwhile, the burly man from before, now revealed as 𝗬𝗢𝗨, is still angry and vows to beat Jin-Yong up after school. As the warning bell rings, Jung Se-woo and Soo-ji-young appear, catching a glimpse of Jin-Yong's bare chest. They are left speechless, exclaiming, "Whoa," and "Oh my." Jin-Yong's sudden shirtless appearance is a shock, especially to Jung Se-woo and Soo-ji-young.
Jin-Yong is left drenched and furious after a bizarre encounter with 𝗬𝗢𝗨.
As the warning bell rings, Jung Se-woo and Soo-ji-young arrive, witnessing Jin-Yong's bare chest, leaving them speechless. 𝗬𝗢𝗨, seething, vows revenge for the earlier incident.
This unexpected turn of events, with Jin-Yong exposed and facing threats, sets the stage for further complications.